This is Part 2, Episode 161. Without a doubt, these five were known figures of the Knight Temple's younger generation. Their appearance caused different degrees of changes on the people rather inclined toward the Mage Temple. With them back, who would dare affirm the Knight Temple didn't have a younger generation to keep them going on? Among these five young knights were three of the 9th step and two of the 8th step, with one in the lot with a domain of his own, and who had won against the head of the Warrior Temple. If their victorious battles were as representatives of the Knight Temple, what would have come of the Knight Temple's rate of victory? Without doubt, some of the five would surely become divine knights of the new generation. And to the Knight Temple, having divine knights as leaders would make their superiority go on forever. Sima Xian's great rudeness shocked a lot of people, but the most shocking was Long Haochen's victory over Qiu Yonghao. Bright Glimmer of Hope and Long Haochen's name were all engraved deeply in the midst of every higher-up of the Temple Alliance. Even the very weak masses were able to tell Long Haochen's strength, since, after all, he won against the head of the Warrior Temple. Deep night. Outside the Alliance's great stadium, a lot of spectators slept directly on the ground, because they wanted to keep their good seats for the next day, and had even brought along rations and water. This first day of the temple's great gathering already brought them countless great surprises. This one was really far more brilliant than the previous ones, especially for the appearance of these young powerhouses, which raised the youngsters from Holy City into great excitations. This name of Bright Glimmer of Hope spread widely everywhere in the city, and to the whole alliance, this holy city being at its center. Slowly walking away from the temple's great gathering, Long Haochen and his comrades came out, heading for the headquarters of the Temple Alliance. After this day of competition, they could already no longer stay in hotels, just like in the past, otherwise they won't possibly be at peace. Their resting place became the Knight Temple instead. Long Qianying walked away from the stadium with a large smile on his face without waiting for the rest of the Golden Foundation Knights, a lot of people coming up to him hastily. The fastest to rush here was Li Xin. Before she could approach, a Golden Foundation Knight barred her way, but being a Mithril Foundation Knight, the Golden Foundation Knights all recognized her. Li Xin was furthermore one of the candidates for participation in the temple's great gathering. Before Li Xin even opened the door, Long Qianying nodded to her, "Follow me. We are coming as well." Two clear voices came out, Feng Linge and Yi Weiyang. Although Yi Weiyang did her best to stop her, in the end, that was not enough to persuade Feng Linge. The match having ended, Long Haochen's crew left already, and since they had 4 knights in their team, the Knight Temple's side was naturally the most probable place for them to be staying. Long Qianying smiled to them, "It's the two of you. Coming along then." Right after saying this, he unconsciously raised his head to see huge fire-red spiritual wings vanish, as a figure landed right in front of him, the auxiliary head of the Mage Temple, Lin Chen. "Brother Long." Lin Chen performed a mage salute to Long Qianying. Long Qianying's gentle laughter could be heard, "So, Brother Lin also wants to return with me." Lin Chen had a pressing look, and was filled with excitement, but still shook his head and passed the words, "Tell this bastard to go see me in a bit." Long Qianying chuckled in response, "All right. These little guys have really been missing for too long. I didn't expect to see such astonishing scenes today." Lin Chen wrinkled his brows, secretly thinking, "So you didn't know about their return? Yet you were very calm and collected at the time your grandson appeared. To keep me in the dark like that, HMPF, let's fix this bastard in a bit later." Sure enough, the Mage Temple and Knight Temple were in competition, so he couldn't stay here for too long. "Thanks a lot, Brother Long." Saying this, he kindly smiled Li Xin, "Xina, you don't need to give me any face, just fix him fiercely." After saying this, he saluted once again Long Qianying before turning back and leaving. Li Xin, Feng Linge, and Yi Weiyang followed Long Qianying in the headquarters of the Alliance. Long Qianying dispersed the Golden Foundation Knights, then told the 3, "Follow me you 3. They heard a warm voice resonate right after they entered the Knight Temple's area of the Alliance's headquarters. "Sis." The cloakless Long Haochen stood there, as if he had anticipated their arrival, with Lin Xin and Sima Xian standing behind him. "Haochen." Hearing Long Haochen call "Sis," Li Xin was unable to restrain her feelings and rapidly stepped up and took him tightly in her arms. Long Haochen considered Li Xin like his related big sister so far. As the brother and sister hugged each other, Li Xin suddenly cried out very loudly. Behind her, Feng Linge and Yi Weiyang couldn't help but become red-eyed at this reunion. Seeing Feng Linge, Sima Xian immediately looked blank, shaking lightly despite how robust he was. But he made an unexpected move, not even speaking a word, but pursed his lips in an expectant manner. Feng Linge bit her own lips, dazedly looking at him, as words were squeezed out in the little space between her teeth. Sai. Ma. Xian. Present. Sima Xian immediately stood straight, before rapidly taking large strides toward Feng Linge. You stand there. Feng Linge suddenly shouted, raising her hand to point at Sima Xian, shivering even more strongly. Sima Xian then stopped his advance and softly said, Linge, I also want to hug you. Can we? You bastard. Feng Linge shouted once again. Sima Xian scratched his head, with a painful look on his face. I am a bastard, it's all my fault. I am in the wrong. Feng Linge's look suddenly became cold, looking at Sima Xian at 3 meters from him to coldly declare, Sima Xian, I have come today to tell you that it's over between the two of us. I already have another man, so even if you dared come back, don't ever bother me in the future. Let things be clear, I don't want to get involved with you anymore. Saying all that, she pulled Yi Weiyang's hand and left. But in just a blink of an eye, tears flowed over her face. Being separated for so many years, she had had countless nightmares, especially after the Scarlet Dragon armor was shattered. She had already lost count of the number of times her tears flowed through. Waiting in pain was always a torture, causing her far too much grievance. Before coming here, she only felt happy and excited about returning to him, but when they really met, the grievance filling him was finally uncontrollable, and caused her to blow out like that. Sima Xian became blank when looking at the rapidly departing Feng Linge, totally at a loss for a moment. Lin Xin kicked him from behind in the butt. Idiot, still not immediately chasing after her. What are you standing foolishly for? Do you really want her to be gone? Yeah, right. Good kick. Sima Xian immediately returned to his senses, his figure flashing and chasing after Feng Linge and Yi Weiyang. He was already a powerhouse of the 9th step, making him fast enough to catch up to Feng Linge in just 3 steps. Grabbing her shoulder, he dim-wittedly declared, I'm not letting you go. Feng Linge turned her head and fiercely looked him. I just said that I am breaking off our relation. You wouldn't be forcing a girl to obey you, would you? Looking at her deep red, crying face, Sima Xian felt a sharp pain go up to him, and suddenly took her under his embrace in a tight hug. Even if I have to let you go. I don't care whether you have another man. If you have another man, I will just kill him and grab you back. If you have a child, then he's mine already. I will just kill the father and raise him as my own kid. You? What are you saying? Feng Linge gritted her teeth, and didn't know whether to laugh or to cry, scratching fiercely at his skin. Yet she kept hugging Sima Xian tightly, and didn't relinquish her grip no matter what she said. Seeing Sima Xian's tyrannical declaration, the nearby Yi Weiyang felt her flesh distorting, narrowly about to laugh it out. What's that logic if she's already married? Just kill the man and snatch the kid to raise it as your own. What freaking logic was that? She was afraid that only this Sima Xian could say such a thing. But needless to say, Feng Linge was really serious. She was really inclined to an intrepid man, such as Sima Xian, lying in his wide embrace and surrounded by his arms. Her reaction gradually became weaker, until ending just like Li Xin, crying loudly in Sima Xian's arms, who became bewildered, but as he didn't dare release her, he could only console with clumsy language. On the other side, Lin Xin had already moved closer to Long Haochen, patting him to remark, Hey boss, that's my wife, shouldn't I be the one to hug her? Hearing him, Li Xin suddenly raised her head above Long Haochen's embrace, and shouted in fury, Who's your wife? Don't you know about coming home? These years, you have not even sent a single piece of news. I have already been taking you for dead since long ago. Compared to Feng Linger's strong on the outside, but soft on the inside character, Li Xin was exactly the opposite. Although Lin Xin's return was a shocking surprise and excitement in her eyes, convincing her to forgive him would not be an easy thing. Long Haochen reported back to Li Xin in a soft voice, "Sis, don't blame Lin Xin. It's actually because of me, because of my mistaken decision that narrowly got us wiped out at the demon's hands. Afterwards, we had an extraordinary stroke of luck and went into states of deep meditations. After awaking, 4 years had already passed. So it's not that Lin Xin didn't want to contact you, but we really didn't have any such opportunities." Li Xin had a start, looking far softer, but still disregarded Lin Xin and asked Long Haochen, "Just what happened?" "Long Qianying, you can't be planning to talk out here. Just go in." As he said so, this divine knight stepped inside, leading the group into a conference room in the Night Temple. The others from Bright Glimmer of Hope were all already waiting inside, and had all taken off their cloaks. Right now, Sima Xian had a really queer look. Still hugging Feng Linger yet far taller than her, he lifted her up above the ground all along their walk on the way there. Entering the meeting room, everyone couldn't help but reveal sniggering faces. Feng Linger became bashful. "What are you waiting for to let go of me?" Sima Xian resolutely replied, "I'm not letting you go. Isn't it just the others sneering? What if you run off after I let go of you? I'll have no more wife." Saying this guy took a chair and sat on it, placing Feng Linger on his knee, but not letting go of her no matter what she'd say. Given his cultivation, Feng Linger couldn't possibly struggle out no matter how she tried. Little imagined was that Feng Linger actually really liked that wild type the most. Although bashful, she didn't resist, and buried her head on his thick shoulder, not daring to raise it. Long Haochen invited Long Qianying to sit on the main seat, then sat right across from Long Qianying, "Sis, Miss Wei Yang, and Miss Linger, on behalf of the Demon Hunt Squad Bright Glimmer of Hope, I would like to apologize about the matter of us having gone missing. Just as I said, everything is my own fault." Right now, Feng Linger and Li Xin were extremely stirred emotionally, so only Yi Wei Yang was rather stable in the emotional aspect. Looking at Long Haochen, "Captain Long, I would be very curious to listen about the encounters you wound up having in demon territory, for you to have not returned for such a long time, and furthermore not even sent the slightest news." Looking at Kia on his side, Long Haochen unconsciously grabbed her small hand from below the table. Even if a long time had already passed since then, right now he still felt a deep lingering fear, not a fear of death, but a fear of losing Caia. At that time, he was just a bit close to losing Caia forever. "We got caught in a trap of the demon god emperor." Thus did Long Haochen start speaking about how they saved Yang Wenjiao from the Dragon River demon god Asmodeus, and how he got informed of the demon god emperor's plan of surrounding them, as well as how the demon god emperor's trap went step by step and in detail. At the time he mentioned his own heart being pierced by the demon god emperor's attack. Li Xin and Yi Wei Yang both couldn't help but cry out in alarm. Even Feng Linger raised her head in shock from Sima Xian's embrace. They were surprisingly caught by the demon god emperor, moon demon god, and star demon god altogether. Although Long Haochen's description was quite stern, the three girls having come across demons many times already, they could naturally imagine what kind of situation it was to be surrounded by the three greatest demon powerhouses in the midst of Moducore City. "Although I don't know why the demon god emperor was willing to spare my comrades at the cost of my life, I knew at that time that my death was already settled. The demon god emperor abode by his promise, letting my comrades get away from Modu while carrying my corpse. And in those years, we found out some remnants with great inheritance from ancient times deep inside. If we could get this inheritance, the hope of resurrecting me may appear. So everyone came across countless dangers for the sake of resurrecting me. After experiencing countless near-death experiences, they finally gained that inheritance, enabling the reconstruction of my heart, which is why I am standing in front of you right now. That power from ancient times left a massive power that we collectively went to absorb, as we trained in these remnants. But no one imagined that this seclusion would actually be a deep meditation of over 4 years. Us awaking was a matter of half a year ago. During these 4 years of deep meditations, we obtained a lot, and actually, we didn't really know how much time had passed since then, actually believing it to be just a few days. Everyone made immense qualitative progress in deep meditation, and made many advances in understanding. Never had we encountered such a crisis in this lifetime, so, in the following time, we kept training and raising our understanding and cultivation all along. This is why we managed to achieve such results in today's temple's great gathering. At the time we just came back, Lin Xin and Sima wanted to immediately look for you, but I was the one to stop them. You should also know that this temple's great gathering is special, and will very possibly be a turning point for the alliance. There are some things we want from this gathering in the hopes of making the alliance even more powerful in the future. So before it started, I made them endure patiently. The fault is mine, so I hope you could forgive them. Also, I want to thank you on behalf of our Demon Hunt Squad, Bright Glimmer of Hope, for having waited for them. It is surely the greatest bliss of their life for them to have found lovers such as you. Saying that, Long Houchen stood once again, and respectfully bowed to the three girls. Although Long Houchen's story was counted as of nothing special, but three girls felt very exhausted just from listening, finding it to be quite thrilling. They were really very close to not having made it back. By this time, given Feng Linger's delicate character, she had already no more fury filling her. Holding Sima Xian's hand, she had a very warm gaze, only thinking, the most important is that you're back. Li Xin's face was also greatly eased, and Lin Xin immediately tried to take advantage of that and sat beside her. Yi Weiyang stood up and nodded to Long Houchen. I feel very lucky about having gotten to listen to the experience Captain Long and the others went through. You are heroes for the alliance. It looks like Linger is not willing to follow me out, and you should have more matters to discuss, so, I am leaving first, goodbye. Long Houchen had a sudden thought and told Han Yu, please send off Miss Wei Yang. Yes. Han Yu accepted and invited Yi Wei Yang to the exit, showing the way for her to go. Long Houchen asked Feng Linger, Miss Linger, can you please answer a question for me? Feng Linger nodded. Right now, Sima Xian saw that she couldn't run off anymore, which is why he placed her on the adjacent seat. Still, his hand was drawn toward her waist, though this bald priest didn't have any more of his previous aggressiveness, with just a happy smirk left on his face. Long Houchen asked, does Miss Wei Yang happen to have already a lover? Feng Linger was startled, what's that about? Don't you already have her? She pointed at Kia. Kia laughed in response, his not asking for his own sake, but for Han Yu, who just sent off Miss Wei Yang back here. Speaking of which, the only single person left in the Demon Hunt Squad Bright Glimmer of Hope was Han Yu. Even Duan Yi, who was temporarily added to their team, had a childhood sweetheart as his wife. Before they went missing, Duan Yi was already married to her. Only, his wife was just a commoner and not a practitioner. This time, Duan Yi specially went to visit his wife and report his well-being before they returned to the holy city. As the captain, Long Houchen was of course concerned with the members' important issues. Han Yu had a steady character, be it in behavior and appearance or ability, all of which were top-notch. However, as a demon hunter, he never had the opportunity to discover those feelings. Now that they reached the 9th step of cultivation, their abilities of self-preservation in the battlefield were greatly enhanced, so Long Houchen naturally became concerned with finding a close female friend for him. The group came into contact with Yi Wei Yang several times already. This girl was not only beautiful, but also very capable. The Alliance's great auction house was neatly managed in her hands, while Feng Linger only had some important decisions to handle. More importantly, Yi Wei Yang was the successor of the holy sword wielder Yi Wushang. All of this added up would naturally make it a very good thing if they could act as a matchmaker for Han Yu. Hearing Caia say this much, Feng Linger's eyes immediately lit. Big Sis Wei Yang has a very great foresight, and remained unmarried for so long. I just don't know whether that knight from your ranks will be able to move her heart. Long Houchen smiled at her, then please help us pull strings. I can see that Miss Wei Yang and you are very close. If she also can become one of the family member for our Bright Glimmer of Hope, won't the two of you become even more intimately related? Let me give you a little leak. After this temple's great gathering terminates, we will immediately proceed for the Knight's Sacred Mountain, where, given Han Yu's strength, he will very possibly be able to obtain a divine throne's approval. I think that a divine knight should be a good match for Miss Wei Yang, right? Feng Ling's eyes flashed in understanding. It surely is a good match. But Captain Long, are you maybe planning on invading our alliance's great auction house? Or do you have some other goals? Long Houchen replied with a faint smile. I will let Sima explain everything to you secretly. Of course, we hope to obtain the backing of your alliance's great auction house, but I believe that this will only bring benefit to the future of the auction house. Although Long Qianying was seated on the main seat, he did not speak a word from beginning to end, only looking at his grandson. Returning after over 4 years, Long Houchen not only looked more calm and reserved than in the past, but had gained an indescribably great presence. Looking at his warmth, he gave off the feeling of being in the right when discussing. This was really a kind of extraordinary trait, a king's bearing. When dawn came once again, the second day of the temple's great gathering opened its curtains. The contestants eliminated in the previous days were all sent to the spectator lounge. Only the contestants that made it to the second round remained in the competition area. For the sake of simplifying their entrance to the venue, the group of Bright Glimmer of Hope sat directly across the space allocated to the Night Temple, but this action also caused the expression of the Mage Temple's head Li Jingji to look very much unsightly. Today, a total of 95 people were assembled, gathered for random individual battles. After all, luck would always be a part of one's strength. After that round of drawing, 48 contestants would pass through the third stage, resulting in a continuation of the knockout competition until a top 3 was established. The top 3 will be offered 2 choices: either to end normally and just keep all their previous total points, or to keep undergoing battles, where the final winners would get rewarded with an extra 10 total points. Out of a total of 3 battles, if someone manages to win against the other 2 and end up number 1, this one would get an extra 20 points. The competition restarted, and the first appearance of the Light of Selection picked a member of Bright Glimmer of Hope right off the bat. Today, they had all removed their cloaks, and the one the Light of Selection had picked was actually Kia. The other one to be selected was quite coincidentally from the nearby Assassin Temple, the elder chief of the Assassin Temple, wielder of the 12 Spaces domain, Shuijisheng. Kia's face of absolute beauty immediately got strange. A short time ago, she had just won a battle against this Shuijisheng, and although she didn't achieve final victory, her domain ability Flourishing Lotus Flower caused Shuijisheng to concede. Who would have thought that she would once again have to face this elder chief of her temple? In a flash of her figure, she entered the stadium, but without giving Cai the time to prepare her moves. Shuijisheng on the other side did not even enter the stadium, his aged voice immediately heard reverberating through the whole stadium. I concede. These words raised an uproar among all spectators. Shuijisheng was a veteran of the Assassin Temple, the current number 1 expert in their temple. Although his seniority was not on the terrifying level of the legendary Chen Zidian, he was even a generation higher than the temple head Xingyu. What had just happened for him to cower without even giving a fight? Li Jingji finally couldn't bear it anymore. Chief referee, this is the temple's great gathering, not a child's play. Auxiliary Temple head Sanshui just conceded yesterday, and today it's Shuijisheng from the Assassin Temple, all of whom are peak powerhouses of their own temple. What's the meaning of our temple's great gathering if such situations keep occurring in the rest of the competition? On the Night Temple's lounge, Chen Zidian's voice spread, please give your reasons, auxiliary heads. Sanshui, Elder Shui, I need a reason for your choices of conceding. Sanshui Popo, having a fearless character, let out a cold snort and declared to Li Jingji, Temple Head Li, you are too meddlesome. I had only one reason for conceding, and it's that I'm no match for Chen Yinga. She's my grandson, so we have already had matches before. That's all. Shuijisheng declared indifferently, my situation is the same as Sanshui. Not long ago, I have sparred with Miss Kia and lost. As I don't want to get dishonored once again, I chose to concede. Chief referee, will such reasons do? For the powerhouses of the present age, face is frequently even more important than their lives. For Sanshui Popo and Shuijisheng to declare that they were not matches for Chen Yinga, and Kia immediately raised another uproar. The already highly valued The Demon Hunt squad bright glimmer of hope once again rose winds and waves. Sanshui Popo was one thing as, after all, she had only just recently broken through the 9th step, but Shuizhisheng was the #1 powerhouse in the Assassin Temple, wielder of the 12 Spaces domain. For him to declare being no match for a member of this Demon Hunt squad immediately placed its position to an unprecedented level. Li Jingji's face looked feverish, but he didn't have anything good to respond to that, his unspoken grievance still unsettled. Chen Zidian declared, "Since things are like that, let the competition follow its course. If there are some other acts of conceding in the following course of the battles, you must speak out the reasons immediately from now on, or some points will be deducted from your own temple's total." Shockingly, the light of selection once again lit a member of Bright Glimmer of Hope, being this time Wang Yuanyuan. The other side selected by the light was Tan Wan, who had barely won yesterday. Tan Wan was after all very young, so her cultivation was definitely among the last of the competitors from the Mage Temple. On the previous day, it was by relying on some extraordinary magic taught by Li Jingji that she defeated her opponent with difficulty, making it to the second round. Wang Yuanyuan was clad in white attire, her short hair flourishing with heroic spirit. Her slender figure and great beauty were immediately noticed as she entered the stadium. If one were to look carefully, they would discover that Wang Yuanyuan's eyes were clearly different from before, her pupils now being purple-colored. Facing the clearly even younger Wang Yuanyuan, Tan Wan had a stubborn look. How can they all have such transcending abilities for their ages? I must defeat her at any cost. Clad in a green gown, Tan Wan's spiritual wings immediately spread out and flapped up, rising straight to the air. She made a turn in midair, causing countless tiny wind blades to get released. Her sharp incantation resounded like a torrential storm, causing green light to shine upon half of the stadium. Fantastic changes started to take place on the tiny green blades of light, revolving around Tan Wang's body, and getting faster and faster, with even more green light coming off at lightning speed from Tan Wan's body. Wang Yuanyuan also moved. She did not release her spiritual wings, but went for Tan Wan in large strides. Her pink eyes gradually deepened to suddenly turn into a dark red color, giving off a strange and oppressive sight. Spurts of blood seemed to frequently come from her eyes. The Alliance's great stadium being so wide, Wang Yuanyuan would need at least half a minute to get to Tan Wan's range. But she wasn't hurried in the slightest, appearing to let Tan Wan display the best of her magic. On the Mage Temple side, Li Jingji's look became even more unsightly. Although Wang Yuanyuan had yet to make a move, from her performance in the battle of the previous day, Li Jingji knew that she was a powerhouse of the 9th step. Wang Yuanyuan's previous opponent was a knight, and the two parties crossed hands for not even 2 minutes before that knight got defeated by Wang Yuanyuan's powerful spatial powers. And at that time, Wang Yuanyuan had immediately launched an attack right from the start, totally unlike today. Her current doing was visibly to make a show for the Mage Temple to see. What if you reach the 9th step? My personally created magic is something even someone at the 9th step may not necessarily win against, when launched at full power. The look in Li Jingji's eyes flickered, unconsciously facing Long Haochen seated in the middle of the Night Temple's area. Long Haochen was clearly very calm, sitting upright yet releasing a very warm manner, just like any other more normal young man. But Li Jingji felt deeply that such a young man was affecting his plans to an enormous degree. Tan Wan's chant started to get more and more high-pitched. These chanting patterns were quite rare, because, during magic incantation, no mistaken tone was allowed, thus limiting one's chanting speed. So a rapid chant such as hers would very possibly result in failed magic. Her current chant also seemed quite different from ordinary spells. This incantation was personally created by Li Jingji. Being the most outstanding genius the Mage Temple had in 1,000 years, Li Jingji combined some ancient incantation with personal comprehension to create an extraordinary magic spell chant. Back in the days, the reason why he took Tan Wan as a disciple was that Tan Wan could comprehend this incantation. Those small wind blades surrounding Tan Wan immediately turned green, entirely masking her body and making it look unclear. The wind blades stopped increasing after reaching a certain number, but became more and more brightly colored. One could faintly see green electric light coil around those wind blades, as Tan Wan's incantation accelerated to its peak. Right when Wang Yuanyuan was at 50 meters from Tan Wan, she issued a reverberating shriek, and immediately, those green wind blades surrounding her in buzzing sounds immediately transformed into a whirlpool of 3 meters diameter and 5 meters length, rushing straight to Wang Yuanyuan's location. All could tell that they were in no way ordinary whirlpools. Each of the small wind blades forming them was infused with the might of spiritual highland. After chanting this incantation, Tan Wan dropped from the sky, looking pale, and, her body swelling, nearly fell to the ground. From this could be seen that this previous magic had just depleted nearly all her spiritual energy. Tan Wan did not even expect herself to actually be able to complete this spell. The greatest feature of this spell was to combine both offense and defense. If the enemy were to attack in the midst of her chant, the first of the wind blades would protect her automatically by attacking the enemies, while her chant would keep going on as long as the enemy does not pass through the magic. This spell already reached the forbidden spell grade. For Tan Wan to actually manage to use such a wind elemental forbidden spell without the boost of any attached equipment was more than prideful enough. Li Jingji gave this magic a really domineering name, calling it Dark Green Hades Spring. It was full of destructive power against both single and multiple targets. From Tan Wan's spell came out Li Jingji's ferociousness. Mags of the same grade would hardly be able to utilize such terrifying magic. Facing Dark Green Hades Spring, Wang Yuanyuan stopped her advance, making an incomprehensible move by raising her right hand and putting her forefinger, middle finger, and ring finger in contact with the space between her eyebrows, as she shut both her eyes. This video will end here.